Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Hester, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you were just listening to is performed by Alberto Perez. Now, Alberto is the owner of the Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Le Bistro Jazz Cafe, Riverside on the Isla Quale, and the Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach. And then there's the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door, so you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night, beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge, or Riverside at Le Bistro. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we're going to talk about, well, what the whole world was talking about on the 22nd of February, 2026, the day Puerto Vallarta kind of lost her innocence. We're going to be visiting with friends of mine and asking them about their personal experiences on that Sunday morning. And before that, life goes on. There's some special events that are happening in Puerto Vallarta right now, and it's safe to come here. So if you are in town, planning to be in town this weekend, make sure to check out the 9th edition of the Damajuana Raicilla Festival. It's going to be on the Isla Quale today, Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th, and Sunday the 15th of March, 2026, of course. This is a great time to drink moonshine, if you ask me. Got to learn a little bit about the local hooch, Raicilla, and you can do that on Isla Quale near the Cultural Center, 2 to 10 today, Friday, noon to 10 Saturday and Sunday. This weekend, it's going to be a beautiful weekend on Isla Quale. Get out there and enjoy a little bit of a Raicilla. Okay, so what happened? Well, what happened was there was a violent reaction, as it turned out, to the attempted capture and the subsequent death of Nemesio Azuguera Cervantes, El Mencho. El Mencho was the leader of the CNGJ, Jalisco New Generation Cartel. His nickname, El Mencho, meant the rooster, or called him the Lord of the Roosters. He was very fond of the sport of cockfighting. Now, the attack was not limited to Puerto Vallarta. Vallarta took a big hit in terms of damage, but there was a similar reaction throughout Guadalajara and a large swath of Mexico. And I'll give you the backstory, and then we're going to hear from my friends, Stefan and Ada, from Living Simply in Mexico. They've got a very popular YouTube channel. They've been on the show before. Some of you might even be following them. Brent Lane from CPS News with Jesse and Brent, the English language news here in Puerto Vallarta. We're going to be hearing from Audra Ricketts from Naked Jaguar Tours, as well as listeners and friends of ours, Cara and Jose, and my neighbor, Randy Winrow. Oh, also my buddies, Ray and Deb in Colonia El Pitial, who all experienced the events of that day and the days to follow from their vantage points from all over the city. So you'll be hearing from them. And where was I during all this hubbub, you might be asking? I was in Los Angeles with Debbie, my wife, for her mom's funeral. We left Vallarta Thursday, February 19th, and then 3 days later, my phone just started going crazy. I was getting messages from friends from all over town asking if we were safe, which we were. We were in Simi Valley, California, in a hotel, getting worried about, well, our friends here in Puerto Vallarta. By the way, we're back in Puerto Vallarta. We took our scheduled flight back a week after the 22nd. We arrived back here on Sunday, the 1st of March. Remember, February's a short month. So we've been back in Vallarta for almost 2 weeks now. And I got to say, unfortunately, I haven't taken a flight so empty since the pandemic. There were 45 passengers on the Alaska Airlines 737. 737 has a maximum capacity of about 220 passengers. So it was empty. The airport was a ghost town. Only 2 jets were on the tarmac, including our own. We easily passed through immigration and customs, and we took an airport taxi back to our apartment in Alta Vista. And the road and the ride looked absolutely normal, with one exception, and it was a big exception. There were boarded up Oxos and kioscos just all over town. All of them with obvious fire and smoke damage on the walls outside of them. And if you know Puerto Vallarta, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Oxos and a lot of kioscos. And those are Mexico's version of the 7-Eleven stores in the United States, if you don't know. Unfortunately, Oxos, certain pharmacies like Farmacia Guadalajara and a few others as well. I mean, the Farmacia in the middle of town, the one in the romantic zone, went up and is in the process of now being put back together again. But a lot of several pharmacies went up during the unrest on the 22nd. Lots of cars, buses, but I'll get back to that in a minute. I have totals of the extent of the damage coming up. But aside from the boarded up Oxos and kioscos and a few other unfortunate businesses, and a couple of little condo units got damaged too. It was not good for them. And it's actually unseasonably light as far as foot traffic goes this time of year. It is high season, to be more precise. If you don't know that, fact is, it's very hard to tell that anything really bad happened only a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. The happy hour over at Los Muertos Brewery is still packed. The Malecon was busy on Sunday night, although I would say that we were there on Tuesday night. It was a little quieter. The Saturday market at Tile Park is still going strong. And the Thursday night Marina Market is still going strong. It seems perfectly normal until you need to duck into an OXXO. Then it doesn't seem so normal. They did miss a few. There's about a half a dozen in the Zona Romantica that they didn't touch. All right, so how did this all start, you might be asking? Well, it was that violent response to that security operation in the town of Tapalpa. Tapalpa is a small pueblo Magico. It's in the mountains about 2 hours drive southeast of central Guadalajara. And on Sunday morning, the 22nd of February, Mexican Special Forces had tracked down the drug lord El Mencho and his entourage to a cabin in Tapalpa. And even though they were attempting to take him alive, there was a shootout, and El Mencho and 2 of his bodyguards were gravely wounded. They were evacuated by air from the area, where Nemesio Azuera Cervantes died from his wounds on the flight en route to Mexico City. And I have an article from the TimesNowNews.com, which describes the result of the operation. I'll read it to you here. Puerto Vallarta violence explained how the killing of a drug lord led to chaos in Mexico. This is by Ronak Bachi. United States Embassy in Mexico City instructed American citizens in Jalisco, including Puerto Vallarta, Chapala, and Guadalajara, as well as in Tamaulipas, Michoacan, Guerrero, and Nuevo León, to shelter in place. Authorities in western Mexican state of Jalisco declared a statewide code red on Sunday after a high-profile security operation in the town of Tapalpa that officials said resulted in the death of Nemesio El Mencho Asuera Cervantes, the leader of one of the country's most powerful drug cartels. Asuera, who headed the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CNGJ, had been among the most wanted fugitives in both Mexico and the United States. In a statement posted to X, Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro of Jalisco said federal forces had carried out an operation in Tapalpa in the early hours of Sunday, leading to confrontations. Federal forces carried out an operation in Tapalpa a few hours ago, which has led to confrontations in the area, Lemus wrote. Also, as a result of this operation in various points of that region and in other parts of Jalisco, individuals have burned and blocked vehicles to hinder the action of the authorities. He added, I have given the instruction to immediately set up the security committee with authorities from all three levels of government and to activate the code red in order to prevent acts against the population. Roadblocks were reported across Guadalajara, the state capital. Flights were diverted from the airports in Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara until further notice. And in Puerto Vallarta, thick columns of black smoke were seen rising over the city, where vehicles were reportedly set ablaze in different locations. Public transportation services were suspended as a precaution, and hotels advised guests to remain indoors. Some businesses temporarily closed. Residents across Jalisco circulated informal warnings through neighborhood chat groups, urging people to stay inside and avoid non-essential travel. Security forces maintained a visible presence, though officials released few operational details. The governor of the neighboring state of Michoacan, Alfredo Bedoya, said that 13 municipalities were experiencing similar unrest. The newspaper Milenio reported additional disturbances in Veracruz, Guanajuato, Colima, Tamaulipas, Aguascalientes, and Guerrero. Mexico's federal security minister said it had implemented measures to quell the unrest and that its priority was to ensure the security and protection of citizens. The United States Embassy in Mexico City instructed American citizens in Jalisco, including Puerto Vallarta, Chapala, Guadalajara, as well as Tamaulipas, Michoacan, Guerrero, and Nuevo Leon, to shelter in place until further notice. The embassy advised citizens to remain vigilant and avoid areas near law enforcement activity. It urged people to seek shelter and minimize unnecessary movements, monitor local media for updates, and follow the directions of local authorities in case of emergency. It said, call 911. The advisory also recommended avoiding crowds and keeping family and friends informed of one's location and well-being by phone, text, or social media. And I have a link to that report from timesnownews.com in the show notes. So, as you heard, this was widespread helter-skelter. And you might be asking what happened in Puerto Vallarta. Well, one of the first messages I got on my phone that morning was a video. Looks like it was shot from the Soho condo building. It's this huge condo. It's built on Highway 200. That is the highway that leads north into Zona Romantica. Across the street from that big building is a big Pemex gas station. And in the video, I can make out young men dressed in black with backpacks, wearing masks, on motorcycles. They get off their bikes, and they've got handguns in their hands. They're forcing drivers and passengers out of their cars, off of buses, and out of taxis, actually. You can see that they're shooing them off. They're telling them to get away. And then they would drive the car. They'd move the car into place on the street where they wanted them, and then they set them on fire. And that way they were blocking off the entrance to the city. It was pretty shocking to see. There was a bus on fire. There were cars on fire. And there was a gas tanker that was parked in the gas station, and there's fires all around it. So they used that same technique all over town. It was happening all around. Young men, many of them were armed. They were all on motorcycles, dressed in black, wearing masks, and they were doing the same thing all over the city. They would carjack a car, they'd set it ablaze right in the middle of the road, mostly at intersections in all the colonias. And they went around to all the colonias burning oxos and kioscos. So they're like I said, they're blocking all the entrances to the city. When they're setting the oxos and the kioscos on fire, they were shooing everybody out. So they were making sure that they were empty before they did that. They were doing that with everybody they were carjacking as well. They had a roadblock over at the Ameca Bridge, the northern side of the 200, over at the Nayarit state border. And then to the east, they had set up similar roadblocks on the 544 towards Ixtapa. Farther up that highway, if you've been up that highway, there's a place called Decimocada. There's a beautiful bridge there. The beautiful bridge, it spans this canyon that the bridge goes over the Mascota River. If you've been up there, if you've been on the way to San Sebastian, for example, or up to Mascota or Talpa de Allende, there's a cute little bakery on the Vallarta side of the bridge. That's the bridge I'm talking about. Yeah, they sabotaged that. They're going to have to rebuild it. In fact, they've already done some demo on it. They have a temporary bridge in place actually as of yesterday. I'll get back to that real soon. There were fires that were set up in Mascota as well. Interestingly enough, that road, the 544, that one that you take from Puerto Vallarta, it starts right near the airport, takes you past the prison, takes you all the way up to Mascota. And as the highway goes through Mascota and leaves Mascota, it turns into the 70, and then finally to the 15 into Zapopan, Guadalajara. After the firefight into Palpa, there was some confusion early on as to where El Mencho was. Was he alive? Could there be a way to break him out? Well, in Ixtapa, where they've got the high security prison there, attackers rammed a vehicle right into the front gate of the prison. A guard was killed. A big fight broke out inside the prison. And when the dust settled, they discovered there were 23 prisoners missing. Currently, authorities have rounded up about half of those escapees, but word is there's still some of those gentlemen out on the loose. During all this at the airport, there was a lot of confusion. There were people that were waiting for their flights. They were waiting to fly out when all this hit the fan. So at first, there was some panic as to whether the violence might spread inside the airport, inside the terminal. So they asked the passengers that were in the terminal if they could just walk out onto the tarmac, which they did. And then they determined after that maybe the terminal wasn't a target. So they got the passengers back into the terminal. They got everybody that was in the terminal onto their flights. They emptied out that building as fast as they could. There was a flight, I think there was at least one flight that I heard of that was on the tarmac at the time that this all happened. The passengers and crew were, they were instructed to stay on board, and there was nobody to offload them. So after a little while, they refueled the plane, and they sent it back to, I believe, the Midwest. At the cruise ship terminal, Puerto Magico, they were awaiting the arrival of a cruise ship. And she was sitting there in the bay. She was on hold after hearing about all the action and probably seeing some smoke up in the air. Eventually, she sailed off into the morning sea. And even up in El Torito, there was destruction. 2 Oxos and 1 Kiosco were burned. That might sound not so bad to you until you realize that El Torito only has 2 Oxos and 1 Kiosco. They also lost a government bank in El Torito as well. There were reports of Costco being set ablaze, but according to a friend of ours who was inside Costco at the time of the incident, whose car was among some of those that were actually set ablaze, it wasn't Costco, it was the cars. But he was saying, he was feeling very sorry for the Costco employees that, were trapped inside. Well, they were inside. They weren't trapped inside. They were told to stay inside. It was not safe to be out there while they're setting cars on fire in the parking lot. And there were a bunch of them that they set on fire over at the Costco. But the Costco is still standing. We were there the other day. With all the burning cars and buses, there was a lot of black, thick smoke that was all over the town. We're going to hear from Deb and Ray as to what happened in Colonia El Pitial in just a bit. But similar roadblocks were set up all over town to slow the response from authorities. And it just wasn't cars. They were clearing employees and customers, like I said, and then setting on fire kioscos and Oxos and selected pharmacias. So why? Why did they do that? There's lots of opinions out there as to why they burned Oxos and kioscos and Pharmacia Guadalajara, for example. But in Mexico, here's the deal. You pay your bills at your local Oxo. Your phone bill, your cable bill, your phone data, you pay all that stuff at an Oxo. You can, or at a kiosco as well. You can pay your electric bill. We pay our electric bill, our water bill. You can send money. Send money to a friend. You can send money to your landlord. So, yeah, kioscos, same. Pharmacy Guadalajara, they've got Western Union. They have MoneyGram. So these are really important places for everyday Mexican folks, and even people like me. Lots of Mexicans don't use a bank. They don't, everything goes under the mattress. So they can't really pay an online bill, for example, without a bank. You can't do online banking, right? So it's going to be very hard for the everyday Mexican to be able to, do stuff without these places. Now, the first attacks in Vallarta started around 8:15 in the morning, and the violence seemed to be restored, and the authorities, the police, the soldiers with big guns and stuff, big military helicopter, they all began moving in around 4:30 in the afternoon. And then everybody took a look around and said, what the hell just happened? Well, as I mentioned, there was a code red warning, and it was declared it's a stay-in-place, shelter-in-place situation. Then the following day, Monday, February 23rd, they were also asking residents to shelter in place all day as well. However, there is this little thing called hunger and thirst, which took over, and locals and tourists were on the hunt for food and drink on that Monday after being bottled up the whole day before that on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, everything seemed to be peaceful enough that the town decided to lift the code red declaration. Go ahead, open the restaurants, open the stores, open markets, leave your home, go ahead, the buses are running. Okay, everybody in the pool. And so magically everything returned to normal. And then 1 week later, when Debbie and I flew back from Los Angeles, like I said, with the exception of boarded up Oxos and kioscos, everything seemed pretty normal. There's a lot of things that you might notice with all the car and bus fires and smoke. There's still some residual soot on sidewalks, so be kind of cautious. Walking around, it could be a little slippery. The gym where I work out, the Fit Club, unfortunately, it suffered some smoke damage. A bus was set on fire right nearby there. It destroyed a real estate office and did a number on several condos, as I had mentioned. I just got back into the gym, as a matter of fact, the other day to restart my workout routine. I can still smell a little smoke, unfortunately. I know they're trying hard. I'll give it a chance, but hey, it's air conditioned. I'm spoiled. I'm going back. Speaking of damage by fire, I have a total tally of the damage done in Puerto Vallarta on that day. This is the day that they're calling Black Sunday. My Patisalada Vallarta native friend over at Los Muertos Brewing, she has a better name for it. She calls it El Dia Feo, the ugly day. Here it is from Vallarta Hoy or VallartaToday.com. Final count of Black Sunday, 228 vehicles and 141 buses destroyed in Puerto Vallarta. This article is by Carolina Gomez Aguinaga, published on March 4th, 2026. The Puerto Vallarta Civil Protection and Fire Department reported that 228 vehicles, 141 commercial establishments, and 2 gas stations, an ATM were damaged, mostly by fire, during the blockades on Sunday, February 22nd. Various departments participated in the removal of the burned vehicles, including municipal transit, public safety, public services, CIAPAL Vallarta, Public Works, and Civil Protection Department itself. The flames consumed 186 sedans, 32 trucks, 6 trailers, and 4 municipal garbage trucks. In total, 228 vehicles were destroyed by fire. A total of 141 commercial establishments suffered damage, plus 2 gas stations and 1 ATM. The businesses were as follows. Here we go. 59 kioscos, 59 OXXO stores with major damage, 3 OXXO stores with minor damage, 4 Guadalajara pharmacies, 1 Benavides pharmacy, 1 Banco del Bienestar, 4 two-box stores, 1 AutoZone auto parts store, 1 coffee shop, 1 miscellaneous business, 1 Coppel store, 1 gym, 1 Honda dealership, 1 Irma sports store, 1 RAC department store, 1 Super Colchones home goods store, and 1 Vento motorcycle shop. The article continues. At a press conference last Thursday, the governor of Jalisco, Pablo Lemus, announced that in coordination with the president of Mexico, a contingency fund would be created to support those affected by the blockades, specifically those whose insurance does not cover their losses from Sunday, February 22nd. This support would extend to the Unibus PV company, which lost 23 buses and 14 taxis, as well as to motorists and businesses. And I have a link to that article in Vallarta Hoy in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Hoy is right. Now, the fact that the governor's offering some assistance to those who lost property, that's heartening. We're going to see if that actually comes to fruition or not. Interestingly enough, I looked into what they did with the body of El Mencho. After they do an autopsy, they release the body to the family. This was over in Mexico City where they flew him in. He was reported to have died from gunshot wounds to the abdomen, his chest, and his legs. And in Mexico, it's kind of interesting. It's traditional to hand over the body of the deceased outlaw to the relatives while an investigation is in process. And it's a way that they give grieving families room to bury their dead in peace. It's a workaround in Mexican law. It's very interesting. Relatives of the deceased are allowed to grieve without being rounded up by the authorities, I guess. But anyway, there is video of and news reports of the funeral. A suegra was buried in a golden coffin in a cemetery in Zapopan. And I have a video of the procession, which included military escort, by the way, armed security. It's very interesting. It's in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Back to that big bridge, the one that's over the Mascota River, over at Desembocada. I have a report on the progress of the demolition and the reconstruction project. And it's good news, folks. Here we go. 8 days after the events in Puerto Vallarta in the town of Desembocada, we began demolishing the damaged bridge on State Highway 544. The 105-meter structure, which had been in service for over 30 years, will be replaced with a new 3-span bridge designed to accommodate current and projected traffic volume. The project is expected to take 5 months to complete, adhering to updated technical and safety standards to ensure connectivity during the construction process. A temporary detour of just over 4.5 kilometers has been established to maintain uninterrupted flow. The new concrete bridge over the Mascota River is designed for long-term durability, strengthening the strategic route that connects Puerto Vallarta with the Sierra Occidental region and supports mobility and economic activity in the area. So that's really, really good news for travelers, for visitors to Puerto Vallarta, and for people who are living in that area for sure. Now, you might ask me what I would tell my family if they asked me if it was safe to come to Puerto Vallarta right now. And I would tell them, yes, I would say, come. Don't be afraid, really. You might ask, what would I tell you, my listeners? And I would tell you to do the exact same thing. Now, with that said, I've already admitted to you that we weren't in Mexico when that ugly day occurred. I mean, I can't imagine waking up to all that smoke, all that fire, that confusion. I really can't. How would I react? I don't know. How would my wife react? I can't say. We weren't there. So, I mean, all I can do is look around a week after this all happened and said, hey, looks fine to me. It's easy for me to say, right? I wasn't there. But what I can do is I can bring you the voices of some longtime friends of mine, people I trust who were here. So I've asked several of my friends to come on the show, tell us their own personal stories about how that day happened, how the following days unfolded for them, and how they felt, what they saw, and how they feel now that they've lived through what the typical Puerto Vallartan that I've met would call their darkest day. So we're going to start right now. We're going to start with Stefan and Ada. I've known Stefan and Ada for about 7 years now. They've been on the podcast before, as I said. They have a YouTube channel. It's called Living Simply in Mexico. And Stefan and Ada actually had a bird's eye view of what was unfolding in the Zona Romantica. I caught their live stream actually during the craziness of Sunday the 22nd while I was sitting in my car in Los Angeles with my mouth wide open. So let's listen. Let's listen to their story about what they saw that morning. All right, Stefan, Ada, thank you so much for coming on the show again.
Great.
Tell us, remind everybody about your videos. What you do about your YouTube channel.
So we have Living Simply in Mexico, which we started, I think, in either late 2018 or 2019, and basically just been chronicling our lives as we moved down here. Well, we didn't move, but we part-time moved, had a house and renovations, and then it just ends up being a little bit of daily life. And so that's what we've been doing for the last few years. And every time we come down, we make a video. And we realized how many times we've been back and forth because of how many videos there are that are up.
Yeah.
I think we're over 100.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Oh,
just
you
just
guys.
past that mark. Yeah, and what's really great about it is it's more of a passion. Much like your podcasts are. We're not looking to make any money off of it. We basically donate that money to charity. If anything, though, if we make anything, and it's really about getting to know the community, meeting people on the street, giving back to good causes, and just being a part of Puerto Vallarta. And so that's really what it excites us to and drives us really to do the videos every so often.
Yeah, and I really love your videos. I'm going to embed some of their videos in the show notes. Make sure to look for them at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Just subscribe to their channel. And the reason I'm here today is because when all heck broke loose on the 22nd, or 2/22, we're going to call it, I was depending a lot on your videos and watching what was going on in our neighborhood. And maybe if you could maybe kind of walk us through what was it like? What was your experience?
There was really a kind of this variety of emotions between when things were unfolding, of thinking it's one thing and then realizing that there's something else going on, and then not knowing what that something else is exactly. So yeah, it started about 8, a little after 8. Day is normal. Now we have this view at the house we're at here that we can actually see the entire Emiliano Zapata and Romantic Zone, Alta Vista, even over to Amapas. And initially there was some smoke that I noticed over, dark gray smoke right in front of Soho. And, at that point in time, I had no idea what it was, but I saw that it was large. And so I just, every time there's a fire somewhere, because of the way the wind blows, I came up, closed our windows. And by the time I got upstairs, it was already, there was a second fire. And then I looked over to the left, and over somewhere near Buenos Aires area up the Quali River, there was a completely different fire. And at that point in time, that's when I started getting nervous, because I'm like, what is happening? Because it was happening around the tourist areas. This wasn't a brush fire, and nor did it act like one. And so there was just that initial just confusion, and I had to kick Stefan out of bed because he was in bed.
Yeah, I mean, I was blissfully kind of relaxing. It was a Sunday morning. And he goes, "Hey, there's lots of fires going on." Well, first of all, she said, "We need to close the doors and the windows." And he goes, "Oh, there's a lot of them. Something's going on." And so I wake up and I go out on our balcony and I, kind of gaze across Emiliano Zapata and all the areas. And it felt like Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
it was like the movie, and the sun was just coming up. Everything was orange, just smoke everywhere. It was just awful, and and I had no idea. So, but of course, what I did is I go online, you go to the Facebook groups, and all of that, and I think it became pretty evident probably within 15 minutes what was going on.
Well, it was this moment of confusion because once again, we're getting texts from people saying, "Hey," like that live over on the other side of the hill, saying, "We're seeing smoke. What's going on over there?" And the thing is, we didn't know, and nor did they, because at that point in time, there was nothing happening on their side of the hill until it started happening on their side of the hill.
Yeah.
And I think it was more of that when when Stefan started making his assumptions as to what was going on.
Yeah.
But up until then, I was, as we were live streaming, I was basically saying, I'm not going to make any assumptions as to what this is, because I was getting texts of people saying what they thought it was. But I'm like, I'm not going to be the spreader of misinformation until I know exactly what it was. And there was a lot of misinformation coming in, including we were getting some of those AI pictures of what was happening on the other side of the hill. But that wasn't what was happening, which was of the burning of the church and this and that. We knew that there was fires that were happening on that side, but we didn't know the extent of it. So that was the time the AI photos started coming up from people that we knew and trusted. And it was like, guys, we need to, are these real? And then it turned out they were not.
Yeah.
Right. So they're kind of sharing misinformation and kind of trumping up the fear.
Well,
right?
it was just in the moment. It was they're just trying to, help spread what they thought was happening from I
see.
heard from this
Okay.
person, I heard from that person. So it wasn't that they were trying to do anything. It was just that those happened to be some pictures that were circulating, and it ended up in their text box, and they were just passing it along.
Uh-huh.
And to groups, right? So there might have been a chat group that we had, and there would be this whole group that would receive this picture, and then there would be somebody that would have to say, "Is this real?" So
Yeah, I think on my end, the first thing I did is I looked at the news and I saw, what happened with the military action and all of that, and I kind of knew that was it, but we didn't broadcast it, right? Because we didn't know for sure.
Right.
And from that, I think that the big concern was at first. So I had that in my mind, but the second thing is, well, okay, what are they doing? Yeah, I think we had so I was live streaming on TikTok at the time, which is TikTok we don't do, but we felt that this was the best platform, and we at the peak, we had over about an hour, we had like 200,000 people that were on live, and of course they were putting up there. Some of it was incorrect information, but you could tell the information that was good. I think the one that was the most incorrect was the Costco was burning.
Right.
People were putting that out there. But from what I could tell from all of those, it's like, cars were burning, buses were burning, gas stations were burning. But there were no buildings. And as you know, Barry, here, buildings don't really burn that much because they're all concrete, tile, and steel, right? And so none of that was happening. But I did hear, though, the one thing that was concerning is I did hear a number of tanks, and I think they're probably coming from the Oxos and whatnot, that were where you hear them like the relief valves going off because they're in a fire. They don't explode, right?
Right.
They go, they do that for a while, and then they go out, and you could hear probably 3 or 4 of those in the first couple hours that were burning, and that was a little rough. The other thing I thought was interesting is that it was, except for hearing those gas canisters go off or the tanks go off,
Yeah.
And the fires themselves, there were no sounds of people, no sounds of alarms or sirens. It was just quiet and fires. And it was the strangest thing.
I bet that was very strange, very kind of eerie, right?
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
you expect to hear emergency vehicles, you expect to hear that kind of stuff when you're seeing
Right.
that when that kind of action is going down, right?
Yeah,
Well, at least in the United States, that's all you would hear is sirens.
Yes, it'd be like sirens going to whatever event's happening, and none of that was happening here.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I did look around, and I think there was one for like 6 hours, I would say. Would you say like about 6 hours? There was like one siren we heard that entire time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I saw we're looking over the here talking with Barry, we're looking over the main drag that goes up
over by the tunnel and the highway that's towards Buenos Aires.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
There was one car that had just a blinking red light, and that was the only notice that something was wrong or something was happening. And that was it the entire time until, I don't know, maybe 4 o'clock or 3 or 4 o'clock when the helicopter stopped by and was flying around.
Stopped by.
Yeah, stopped by. Literally dropped in. But that was weird too, is because the fires, you could tell when something was like a car or something was burning because it was thick black smoke.
Yeah.
And the one that was really interesting was a very yellow smoke and a big fire. And that was the Farmacia Guadalajara that was burning. And that's when the helicopter came in and swooped down to take a look at that.
Yeah, well, because there's a lot of Viagra burning. He just
Exactly. Hopefully it wasn't coming our way.
I'm sorry.
That could have been an interesting situation.
Yeah, had to throw that one in.
But no, it was an interesting time. I have to say though, I have to say one thing, and that is when the helicopter came in and there was still activity going on, that's when I was the most nervous, because that was the only time when there was military activity. We didn't know what was going on the ground, and we hadn't had anything gunfire, anything that was, we heard on a consistent basis or near us. But when the helicopter came down, we didn't know if they were going to engage someone, and if they did, what that would mean.
Right.
And they were just here to view, but that was probably our biggest concern at the time.
Yeah.
Ada, would you say?
Yeah. I'm just letting you talk.
How long would you say that this lasted?
Well, it was really consistent smoke happening from about 8, and then about lunchtime is about when it calmed down.
Siesta.
Yeah.
Siesta.
Pretty
Yes.
much, yeah.
And when I say calm down is that it went from, like I said, there were moments on the early side of things where we, like I said, the sun was coming over the hills, over the mountains, and we could not see the sun, and nor could we see the mountains. And there was basically all across the entire, like I said, Emiliano Zapata, all the way to the beach. There were, like I said, we were seeing just fires, sort of select fires throughout, kind of appearing in the same area. And at that point in time, like I said, Stefan's smarter than I am. I didn't know what it was. And it didn't occur to me that those were the places that were the, until later in the afternoon, where we were realizing, those were the kind of the choke points of the highways.
Targets, yeah.
And then it made sense where we were seeing the fires, because these were happening behind buildings. But yeah, around noon, it kind of calmed down. And when they did start up again with that fire of the Pharmacy de Guadalajara, that was several hours later. And, and then once we saw the military helicopter, it was kind of like, that was the end.
That was it.
That was it.
Yep. It's kind of like everybody had done their business, and now the military and the police were coming in to take over. It was really fascinating.
To kind of say we're here now. Okay, we're here.
And the other thing that was interesting is, okay, so then the night came, right? And obviously they were burning cars, and there were some places, I think, was it Timothy Real Estate, and they're next door to a car that was burned, and they got burned.
Yeah, I think it was a bus there.
Yeah, bus. Yeah. And there were cars in front of our house here, and so in our street we're completely spared. There was nothing going on our street. And so, at night I was looking down and I saw some folks had some what appeared to be like gas kind of bottles of gas, not gas. I would say kind of like one of those big water containers that you have.
Okay.
It's glass of water, but it had like liquid in it, and in a plastic bag, and they got it here and they took it out of the plastic bag, and then they split up in motorcycles and went off, and I'm going, what is that? And should I be worried?
This was at 8:30 p.m. on our security cameras that Stefan is seeing this footage.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can make out the people really clearly, nor could we make out exactly what they were carrying, but clearly it was sus. And they were, heading towards the Coloso area. So once again, we didn't know. We didn't know, is there going to be more activity at night? And that said, as I mentioned before, when that helicopter went over, it really kind of signaled that was the end. And so even though we saw this footage on our cameras, I still slept really well that night.
Yeah, so
as did everybody we talked to. Surprisingly, it was one of the quietest nights we've ever had.
Yes, what I've been hearing, that it was eerily quiet, and because there's no cars out there, right? No one's driving out there.
Yeah, and I the whole thing for us, oddly enough, it was concerning, but it wasn't traumatic to us. There was a lot of people that had trauma happen to them. Like if you're, especially I feel, so sorry for the folks that were driving their car and they got pulled out by gunpoint, right? And their car burned. I mean, I can't imagine.
No.
I can imagine that.
From that.
Yeah. And people that were living right next to the street and a car was burned in front of their home, right?
Right.
Although, so we had a little bit of a distance from it. So those folks, and there were some interviews with them, but the vast majority of the media that was out there was not those folks. It was someone that was in all-inclusive. They're hysterical. They're saying that they're being shut in. They can't get away, and crying about they got to get out of here. This is such a horrible thing, and that was just proliferated all through media.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so that was really concerning to me, and that felt like, what. I understand their perspective. They're here for the first time. They don't know Mexico. They don't know the situation. And they're just freaked out. I totally get that. But at the same time, that's what the world was saying. And there's no way to claw that back. That's the first impression that everybody gets about Mexico. And that was the most disturbing thing for that day for me.
And I'm going to add that, we did have a different perspective. I think even though we saw the fires, it was clear that it was happening on the business side of things and not on sort of our residential sort of area here. And so I have a lot of sympathy for the people that were right in the middle of it because there was a lot of smoke happening there. We had food here because we have a house.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if I were staying, in one of those little hotels or little Airbnb. Maybe you just got in the night before because this was Sunday, so you just got there. You're not necessarily planning on cooking, so you probably don't have a lot of food. And, we had our COVID, we dug out the old COVID masks. I was like, hey, we've got our N95. So we were wearing those all day long. So we weren't inhaling, what we were inhaling.
Nasty smoke.
And, so there's this aspect of like, we were a front seat to it, but we were not necessarily in the midst of it. And I do think, those folks that were in the romantic zone or anywhere near where these fires had broke out, whether it be, in Oxo, which is, like I said, literally in every corner throughout, those are always near a hotel. Right?
Yeah.
That's where you're going to go get your bottle of water.
Right.
So suddenly you're like, wait, I can't even go down and run down to the Oxo to get a bottle of water because it got
burned.
Right. Or you don't know what's
smoldering.
happening. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, but here's the thing is after that happened and then that calm night, then the next morning we knew we had to shelter in place. Once again, quiet. That felt like a Sunday.
Yeah.
And we know that, our friend Audra had gone down a little bit and, she had to get food and such. But, when we were able to go out, we did wait until the official, okay, you can go out now on Tuesday. And I just was so amazed by it was so normal. It was, except for the fact that, if you did walk past an Oxo or a Kiosco or, there was a random mattress place that was burnt. There was, you can smell, you could smell that was burned, but they were even still in process of hosing down the streets. But I think that was the Monday activity where we were still sheltering in place was basically they were driving around, getting all the cars, picking them up and cleaning it up so that when, we all got out and about the following day, it was just like another day. And it truly, and even last night, we're a week later, but we walked past one of the Oxos and I said, wait a minute, I didn't even smell the smoke that time, so it's just amazing how quickly the town will clean up. And I've seen that happen over and over after any disaster, which this was another man-made one, but it's really quite amazing how the community just basically, what I've been saying is Puerto Vallarta lost its innocence that day. I mean, but it didn't lose its magic. We've always known that there's, different activity around. That's not anything new, but I think just seeing it play out, like we're here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the loss of innocence. Like we're like, okay, they are.
Two call outs. There's one, and this one made me feel real good about 3 or 4 days after. There was one Canadian news agency that actually got pulled in to meet the people who actually organized the events. And they basically said, no, we weren't going after. We don't want to deal with tourists. That's not our prerogative. That's negative for us if that ever happens. We've never done that before. And so we're not doing it now. Right. And that was the message that came from the Canadian broadcasting. They interviewed 2 different people, a high level up person that organized it and a person that was on the ground doing the work. And so that just validated and confirmed sort of what I had already felt I already knew. So that was good. Meanwhile, CBS, I'll call out CBS for this. They had a person come in on a chopper. And this was like 2-3 days ago. Now a week after it.
No, it was maybe 4 days after the event.
Yes, somewhere there. And they're flying in this chopper. And she looks out the chopper looking at Puerto Vallarta and she says, hey, it looks very quiet down there right now. There's not a whole lot of people. And then she goes, I don't know if it's high season or low season, but all seems pretty good here. It's like, how can you fly all this way
and not know?
And not know. don't you have any time on the plane to like, and so that just blew me away. So you have these people up in far off places trying to figure out what the titles and the pictures are that are going to sell the most clicks. And then you had people on the ground that were coming from afar that really didn't do their diligence. And that really was annoying to me.
Yeah, I hear you.
We do really feel for, there's a new restaurant, for example, we just went to last night, which was fantastic in Emiliano Zapata. And they just opened.
What's it called?
It's called Restaurante Encanto.
Encanto Restaurante, yeah.
Okay.
And there's another Encanto, which is also good Chinese. This is more of a Mexican.
Yes, it's right next to Organic Select in the Emiliano Zapata.
No,
brand new.
There. They've been there before.
And I think they because I asked when did you open? He said a month ago. Yeah. And we last night we were walking around. We walked all over just to kind of see this week compared to last week, which last week was pretty normal because everybody was still here. And last night there was only 5 people standing in line at Poncho's.
Wow.
So that tells at 7:30 p.m. So that tells you they're usually that it's a 40-minute wait, this time of year. And so we walked all over and we're like, let's go over to that little restaurant and see if they're open. And we did because we wanted to support a place that we're like, they're new. And you know what? It was fantastic food. And I think we're going to go there again either tonight or tomorrow night because we want to support them. And it was such good food. And, that's the thing. I just hope these smaller, not as popular places that, there were some popular places that we were still going to see. Is there a line? Yep, there's a line there. But those little smaller ones are really going to hurt with the season being cut.
So come back.
Yes.
Come back. Don't be afraid.
Absolutely.
Come and eat, drink, and be merry.
Exactly.
All right, well, Ada and Stefan, I want to thank you both for coming on and telling us about your experience on I guess we'll call it 2-2. I'm just going to call it 222 or is that right?
Yes, that's
the tantrum. I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah. Oh, one final note. We're very active in supporting the Vallarta School for Girls here, and one of their main benefits of the year, their Black and White Gala, was canceled. Unfortunately, at the time was unfortunately right in the middle of this, and so they're always looking for funds. And so Ada and I are going to be helping build a wellness center for the new School for Girls that they're building. And so if anybody's interested in that, you can go to girlsedfund.org and learn about that if that's of interest to you.
Okay, I'll have that link in the show notes. And that's a great idea. And one of these days we're gonna go talk to
Francie
again and talk to her about the school.
Excellent.
Well, and what you guys are doing for the school is pretty amazing. Thank you for that. That's above and beyond, if you ask me.
Part of the community, right? That's what we're all here for.
That's what it's all about. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. Again, tell everybody about your channel. What's it called?
Living Simply in Mexico on YouTube, and it just shows our daily life here. And you can go check that out. Obviously, subscribe, and then also too on TikTok. We do some random stuff there. Sometimes we do a lot, like last couple weeks, and sometimes not. But that's Living Simply in Mex. You can see us there as well for kind of like the raw, quick videos.
Okay, I'll have links to that in the show notes as well. And thank you again for hosting this little gathering here. We've got a gathering of influencers here. Who are going to talk to you about why it is that you need to keep coming back to Puerto Vallarta. And I want to thank you very much again, guys.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Barry.
All right. Thank you so much, Stefan and Ada. Hey, make sure that you follow them on YouTube. They have their YouTube channel called Living Simply in Mexico. Go ahead and subscribe to them if you haven't already. I really like Stefan and Ada. They are the real deal. And they have big hearts too, with all that support for Vallarta School for Girls. You can also support the Vallarta School for Girls as well. I have links to them and to their channel and to the Vallarta School of Girls in the show notes. Next, we're going to be hearing from my friend Brent Lane from CPS News with Jesse and Brent, English language news in Puerto Vallarta. I've had Brent on the podcast too, if you remember. He was on the podcast several months back. And while all this stuff was breaking loose on that Sunday, I began seeing Brent on my Facebook feed. He was actually doing a newscast. And at first I thought, hey, where is he casting from? Is he at the TV station in Marina Vallarta? No, he wasn't. As soon as I put two and two together, I figured out he was newscasting from his home. So, hey, let's hear from Brent Lane about his experiences on that Black Sunday in Paradise. Come on, Brent. You sound great. Brent Lane, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Barry. It's glad to be back.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done this both ways. You've come on TV with me. I've come on with you. And I absolutely love doing this podcast.
Well,
your soothing voice just puts me at ease.
Everybody loves to hear your voice as well, Brent. During this, remind everybody what you do. You're on CPS.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Tell them.
Absolutely. So I am the local news anchor at CPS Media, CPS News with Jesse and Brent. We've been on a little over 2 years now. We are the only English televised news in this area. It's a 1-hour program every Monday night, and it's more of like it recaps the news from the previous week, a little bit of new news from Monday, and then we go on Monday night and talk to the non-Spanish speakers or those Spanish speakers that want to practice their English and provide them the news, real news.
Yeah, and I'll put a link to the last episode that I did with Brent. It was several months back with Brent and without Jesse. Jesse wasn't there that day.
She was out, yeah.
Yeah, she was. But when all of this broke out on the 22nd of February, I all of a sudden I saw you, and you weren't in the studio. You were in your house. Is that where you were?
So funny enough, and very coincidentally, over the last month or two, I've been bringing equipment from the USA, professional mics, lighting, studio software, multiple cameras, because I do the TV news I anchor the news every Monday night, but I've really wanted a personal project. It was going to be some kind of video podcast. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the project was going to be, and I was racking my brain to create it. And all of a sudden the project found me, but I was fortunate enough to already have all the equipment here, already have it fully set up. And then when everything happened around 8 or 9 a.m. and I walked out into it and I had a bird's eye view of it from the 10th floor in the marina of the entire city on one side and the airport on the other, I was like, people need to know what's going on. I've got all this studio equipment over here. I haven't practiced this. This is going to be raw, and I'm going to stay on air for as long as it needs be, over and over and over, to provide real and factual news updates and fight back any fake news that came to me. It didn't have a name. It didn't really have a purpose at that time other than delivering news. And it literally wasn't I think it was 15 or 12 videos in where I started even saying Puerto Vallarta Real News, or PVRN, because I just felt like that's what people really wanted. So I named it, and that's how PVRN was born and is playing daily now even.
Okay. All right. And all right. So let's go back a little bit, and let's talk about when you figured out something was happening, because you got the bird's eye view. Everybody that I am interviewing had a bird's eye view, which is kind of interesting, come to think about it. But yeah, so tell me what was going through your mind. What did you think?
I feel I had a unique view of it because on one side I had the entire city in the bay, and the other side I had the airport, so I could really tell what was going on, like at the airport as well, because people really wanted to know about that. So I walked out. I saw various plumes of smoke throughout the town. Clearly, I woke up to 100 and something messages, because being connected to the media and a few other people, lots of information was coming to me. Probably some information that some people didn't even have due to some of the connections I've been working with for the news. I saw them everywhere. I saw the plumes. I saw there was a fire right in front of the marina. I kind of peeked out to the left, and I knew I knew what was going on because of all the information I had. I wasn't panicked. I was more numb. I was looking out at this, and almost unbelievable this was happening in Puerto Vallarta. So let me give you context for that. So I was fortunate enough on the news on Monday night, and I hop around. You're going to have to edit this. I'm just a train of thought kind of guy. But on Monday night on the news, we had 2 interviews, and we brought in Marifer, she goes by May Ariola, who's the president of Canaco, who is responsible for tourism and, for Puerto Vallarta, as well as Rosalba Alejandra Conejo, who is the Director of Municipal Tourism and Economic Development for Puerto Vallarta. But May had a really great quote. And what she said was, this is something that happened all over Mexico. This isn't something that happened to Puerto Vallarta. This is something that happened in Puerto Vallarta because Puerto Vallarta is the crown jewel of Jalisco. And there was a demonstration happening. And it was obviously in retaliation for things that had happened. So to answer your question, I was calm through it, but I felt like I needed to be. I felt like everybody in the city had various degrees of stress and worry. And what I did was, I'm going to bring you a calm voice, which I did. I'm going to filter out all the noise. And I'm just going to give you a very accurate report of what I see out my window on both sides, what is happening. And then I was fortunate enough to have correspondents all over Mexico, not just Puerto Vallarta. I had correspondents from the Yucatan. I had correspondents from Cozumel, Cancun, Mexico City, and Guadalajara, and Puerto Vallarta at the highest levels, all providing me information of what was going on so I could disseminate that information. I still fact-checked everything, but I felt like the Puerto Vallarta public was owed a calm response that wasn't as inflammatory as the international news, which was just catching on.
Right. What did you find was the most, what was the craziest misinformation that was coming across to you?
Craziest information that I saw was that the cartel had complete control of the city. The military had shut us down and taken over, and we were under like martial law. To this day and this morning, I still get 2 to 4 messages a day telling me when the next attack is coming. Now, you may or may not want to hear that on your podcast, but I can tell you right now, I call them inflection points. I started calling that on the show, the PVRN show. I started saying our next inflection point is 1 o'clock. That's when I'm coming back on the air. Our next inflection point is 2:30. These are when I was being warned by various sources that something was going to happen. I even got one today. And actually, the one I got today was the same person that's been giving me ones for 3 days. And we keep crossing these points and nothing is happening. You know, there is no violence when they're happening. And so the crazy thing to me is that people are still embracing sources of information that, you know, it bleeds, it leads, you know, let's cause fear, let's call panic. My cousin's friend's boyfriend said they have a friend who's connected to a narco in Guadalajara, and there's definitely going to be an attack in Puerto Vallarta today at 3 o'clock. Of course, we go right past that time and nothing happens. Was I double checking on these things earlier in the week? Yes, I was contacting one of my high contacts who was contacting their high contact, and they would say there is nothing coming. And I was, okay, I hope that's all correct. Now, I don't tell these people you're crazy, stop sending me this thing, but I'm just like, universally, let's try to trust what's happening here, what we see with our eyes, what we hear with our ears, and not what we're seeing internationally. So I'm still seeing craziness, but I'm not seeing it here. I'm hearing it.
Yeah. Okay. So, as far as your, getting out, from your house and from your condo and getting out on the streets, you were there were you out there almost right away? What did you do? Did you shelter in place like they asked you to do? And
so fortunately, I live in the marina, and that's where my studio is, and nothing happened in the marina per se. So right around me, there was nothing happening. It was a little further out. Now, I didn't venture out because literally, Barry, I was stuck to my computer and stuck in my studio with a mic in front of me pretty much from when it started all the way till about 10 p.m. when I finally fell down due to exhaustion. I went on the air for 107 total minutes that day. So I didn't get to go anywhere. I was on air with 3 to 5 to 7 minute segments, news segments.
Yeah.
And I ended up stitching it together into a YouTube video. It's like a movie now. I just need a documentary person to come grab it. But it's the 107 minutes of what we went through in 25 videos. And so I didn't go anywhere. So I didn't get out really until probably a few days after. I'm probably going to be the one that was in the house the most because A, I'm in the marina. B, I didn't really, I was under code red. I was going to follow those. But I also felt like I need to be here to make sure the accurate, true information is getting out to the local or to the expats and tourists and people here that just don't speak Spanish and know what's going on.
Right, right. And people can see all those. You got those. Where would they find that?
Yeah, the live videos have been posting to my feed on Facebook. It's under Brent Lane, Puerto Vallarta Real News. Very easy to find them all on YouTube, Puerto Vallarta Real News as well, PVRN. And not only is every individual video in there, but that 107-minute one is in, or 1 hour and 7-minute one is in there as well. Now, I will say I did get out a few days later. Seeing the smoke from afar is very different than walking up to the kiosco or the OXXO or other places and seeing the damage. So it's shocking. I'm not going to minimize that. It's not a shocking. It is a shocking thing to see. You just don't see these things every single day. I didn't feel like I needed to run home, but I also will say we're all on a little bit of an alert right now, and I think that's why people are tuning into me. And fireworks have a whole new meaning to us now. I mean, we always knew it was just fireworks. Now we're kind of like, is it? Yeah, okay, it is. Everything's fine. But, the more I meet with the government folks, the more I interview them, the more I talk with them, there's a very positive feeling for Vallarta. It's unfortunate that the airplanes coming in are so empty and the ones going out are so full. I'm hoping that turns around soon because I think Stefan might have alluded to shootings in the U.S. Well, I'm from Austin, Texas. And there just was a shooting in Austin, Texas, where 14 people were injured. Some of them were killed. And you know what didn't happen? They didn't immediately shut down Austin to tourism. They didn't immediately tell the world, spring breakers, don't go to Austin. They didn't immediately shut down the entire country. It's business as usual. But Mexico's taken a little bit differently. Mexico, they say, okay, something happened, shut it down, close it down, red alert, don't go there. When in reality, I'm looking at all across Puerto Vallarta right now. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful out there. There's less people here, which is too bad for the community here and the businesses. But it does feel like business as usual, but just a tiny little bit more guarded.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. And so obviously you would tell people to keep on coming back. I mean, don't be afraid. There's nothing to worry about. Do you think that you might tell people, I'm just wondering if you might tell people who are coming to stay for a week or two to maybe, do a little prepping, like bring some food and water into your place or something like that so that at least you have something. Would you even tell them that?
I don't think so at this point. I mean, I always believe in being cautious. We're a city like any other city. Things happen. There are no guarantees in life. I don't think you need to come down here as a doomsday prepper per se. If that's where you're at, then maybe now is not the right time to come. Okay. But there is a time for you to come. Like if you're overly nervous. But I mean, the thing is, I've been talking people into coming since day one. Like they watch my presentations of us. They're getting a feeling from me that things are calm and they're feeling calm. And they're literally asking me the same question. Should I come? Should I be prepared? And I'm like, listen, use your best judgment. Do what makes you feel okay. You don't want to go on vacation and be scared the whole time. But I'll be honest with you, if you get here, the community is going to be so grateful. The people are going to be grateful. The restaurants are going to be grateful. You're not going to be waiting in line. Yeah. That's not a great thing. I mean, but it's true. It's like low season came too early. But I would absolutely say still come to Puerto Vallarta. It's magical. It's just a little less busy right now.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Remind everybody about your news channel and your channel with Jesse.
Absolutely. So one way to find me, again, I'm Brent Lane. I am the host and anchor, or one of them, on CPS, not CB for our American audience, CPS News with Jesse and Brent, or you can just type CPS News in English into YouTube, and then look for my new startup channel where I'm providing daily updates on what's going on in Puerto Vallarta and how this community is recovering, and that's called PVRN, Puerto Vallarta Real News. You can find that on YouTube. You can find that on my profile on Facebook, and I'd be more than happy to answer your personal questions. I do it live, and if you've got a question, I'm going to do my best to answer it while I'm on air every day and it's about 15 minutes. You know what? People like that. Yeah. Get in, get the news, feel good, get out.
I like that. I like that too. All right. Well, that's really cool. I'll have links to both of those on the show notes. Well, all of those on the show notes, I should say. And Brent, I want to just thank you so much for, spending some time to talk with me, just a little old me and my audience, and to let us know, that it's safe to come back, and also to keep in touch and keep appraised of everything that's happening, but in, like your language, like as long as it's English,
It's true. Barry, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. I can't wait to talk to you again or have you on the TV again.
Thanks, Brent. Thank you so much, Brent. Imagine that. A news channel is born. Follow Brent on both CPS News with Brent and Jesse, and now on PVRN or Puerto Vallarta Real News. I have links to all of those channels in the show notes. Next up, you're going to hear from a friend of ours, Audra Ricketts. You might already know Audra by her YouTube channel, Naked Jaguar Tours, which she recently rebranded as Real Life Puerto Vallarta. And Audra is another one of these friends who I've known for many years. She had also had a bird's eye view of all the goings-on that were happening on that dark day. And she also pulled out her camera and started shooting live video, documenting all the events and communicating with her followers. And so let's get to her right now. Let's hear from Audra Ricketts and Real Life Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Audra, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Tell everybody about yourself. Where are you from? And what was the path that brought you to Puerto Vallarta? And no one's ever met you here before.
Okay,
Everybody
great.
else has been met before.
I'm from Victoria, BC, Canada. I ended up in Mexico when my marriage went sideways. I mean, I'm just going to tell it like it is.
Well, why not?
That's what I tell everybody else, right?
Right. Why lie to me?
I ended up in Los Cabos originally at the beginning and stayed there for a month. And then Ada here from Living Simply in Mexico invited me to come and take care of her new house, her and Stefan's new house. And they're like, would you like to take care of our villa for a month? And I'm like, let me get back to you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been here ever since. And I've been here for 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do videos. Now you started off doing videos as, what was your first channel?
I have a YouTube channel. Originally it was called Naked Jaguar Tours, and it's not a porn yet. I'm joking. I always tell people that. But I renamed it because I'm thinking the naked part might screwing with the algorithm a tiny bit.
Uh-huh.
But it's a stupid inside joke from my past life. So that it wasn't meant, whatever. I used to write one-liner greeting cards. So to me, it just sounded cool. So I was like, yeah, why not? So now it's called Real Life Puerto Vallarta.
Okay, very good.
On YouTube.
Yeah. All right, and then I'll have links to those in the show notes. Everybody, make sure you check those out.
Thank you.
But let's talk a little bit about your experience on the 22nd, on Sunday, the 22nd of February here. What was it like? How did it all happen for you?
Yeah, it was a normal morning, sort of. Like I started smelling what I thought was like an electrical fire within my home, where Ada and Stefan's place, where I live. And I was like, what the hell is that plasticky burning smell? And anyway, I went to do the morning walk with my dogs. And it got stronger, that smoky smell. I'm like, what's going on? I hadn't seen anything yet. I hadn't even looked outside really yet, but I was walking the dogs and then my phone rang. It was my friend Jody. Her and her husband were here from Toronto, and they were like in a hotel overlooking Pemex, if you can think about that, where everything apparently started. I don't know if that is really where it started, right?
Yeah,
they blocked the highway right there. Jody's freaking out, and she goes, look, and I look up, and I climbed up to the lighthouse in El Cerro, where I am in El Centro, behind the Church of Guadalupe, and the left side of the bay is like almost black, like it was just completely crazy. All these people were running out and going, what the hell's going on? Like it had just begun, it seemed like. What was that, 8:45 or something like that? And then I was like, what the hell? So she was freaking panicking. We didn't know what the hell was going. So I was like, I guess I better go home. So I did. And that's when I actually called Stefan right away when things first started happening. And I was like telling them the news, even though I'm sure they saw it before me. And I also noticed they went live on their own channel. And I'm like, well, maybe I should go live then. Kind of copied them. And I ended up doing 6 lives that day. I just kept going on and off. And I was basically, which was kind of interesting. There was like, I had people, friends and stuff in all different spots in town. Like my friend owns a condo building in Cinco. And he's like, up on his roof, he's like, there's
2 or 3 cars on fire around the perimeter of my building. And so he's reporting like dudes on motorcycles with backpacks that were zipping around in Cinco. Someone else, my friends are in Pemex, so they kept calling. Like it was endless.
Yeah.
Endless. It still hasn't ended. Like I've been going live ever since as well. I took one day off because I had a tour. But so yeah, it was really freaky.
Yeah.
Because I could see, so and then so I'm trying to even remember. It seems like an eternity ago because so much has been going on since. But so there's sort of like one layer of one round of plumes of smoke, so the different ones coming up surrounding me. So I'm looking out straight on Banderas Bay, right behind the Church of Guadalupe. And then it seemed to, and I was like going live and then talking to all these people. My phone was ringing constantly, tons and tons of texts. I wasn't looking at any news, nada. It was just like information on the street.
Yeah.
I got that picture, the AI picture that was circulating that had the church was on fire and shit. And I fell for it at first, actually. And then I look, I'm like, I'm looking at the church. It is not on fire, thank God. And, but I wasn't really like on any mainstream media. Like I was just getting intel from people that live here, that were staying here,
So as you're getting that intel, you're talking about it on your video.
And then my lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
people are going, and that's when it got kind of, and then it seemed to die down. So I'm just trying to remember what the heck happened. It seemed like it was over.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally was just starting live. I was like, had the laptop, I'm looking into it. I'm like, yeah, I think everything's grooving. I like tilt my head up. That's when the second round started. They lit 3 buses on fire right in front of my face. Okay. It looked like City Hall was on fire. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And it was just this massive plume of black smoke. And it burned for 2 hours straight or more.
Yikes. Yeah.
It was freaking scary. And I'm like, oh my God. And like, so more phone calls, more texts. You know, I'm like, I think City Hall's on fire. And then I'm like I'm like, no, wait a sec. I don't know what that is. And I didn't really know till the next day that it was 3 buses. I didn't know what the heck was going on. And more new plumes and stuff. And I thought I heard gunshots and stuff too. And a lot of people were writing it writing in and saying, no, it's car parts that are exploding. It's tires. It's pieces inside of cars that make that sound. But it also sounded like everything was going on. So at points I'd get really scared and be like, should I be ducking? Should I be inside? Like, should I, because I was out on these decks. Yeah. So, that went on, and then it's sort of, and then finally at like 4 p.m. or something, and that's when my friends who were from Toronto, they were like, there are no sirens. There's no, what the fuck is going on here? Pardon my language, right? And it was awfully quiet. And then all of a sudden a helicopter appears, and it's like after the fact. So that seemed really weird, right? And yeah, anyway.
And that was your experience.
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. So you've got all these on your channel. People can come and they can actually look at them and see what it's all about. It's on YouTube, right?
It's on YouTube at Real Life Puerto Vallarta.
Okay. I'll have the link there, and I'll do an embed there for that. And so y'all can kind of take a look and kind of see what Audra was seeing. I do remember seeing pictures, because I was not here, of the 3 buses, and that was actually ended up being a pretty epic, famous little picture that people love to take, of 3 buses lined up right there, right in front of where the arches are there, and right in front of City Hall, and that must have been just epic to watch that thing go up.
Yeah, I was totally not prepared. I was like bachelorette.com, okay? Open my fridge. There's like half a steak from a dinner I had had. I had tons of water, and I had like 2 eggs, 1 tortilla, a piece of cheese, and an apple or something like that. So I was like, oh my God, like I'm screwed, okay?
Right.
So that freaked me out a lot. And I've never been in a, I guess if there's been a blizzard in Canada or something, you're like, oh God, we're locked into. But yeah, that was freaky. And of course, everyone was we were supposed to stay in.
Yeah.
And my friend Neil, who likes to cook, just saying, he's like, wait, I have frozen spaghetti in my fridge. I'll bring you some.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because he was like, you know what? I just want to live my life. And he went wandering around that. Anyway, he actually was at Dee's Coffee that morning and got stuck there or something
wow.
like that. So he had to make his way when those buses were on, all this stuff. He walked home and I'm like, Neil, I don't think you should be outside right now. But he made it home and then he came and delivered me some spaghetti.
Wow. So that actually emboldened you, didn't it? You went out.
I didn't go out until the next day.
Okay, but that was on, now the next day you
Oh,
on Monday or Tuesday?
That evening I did. He came up and I was like, I need to walk my dogs. It was maybe 6 or something. I'm sorry, I forgot all these details, but I was chicken. I tried to go down solo to walk the dogs.
Yeah.
I went almost to the bottom of the stairs. I went, I'm going to get shot at or something. Like, I just didn't know what the hell to expect.
How would you know?
So I went back in, and then Neil came again, and when he went to leave, I went with him, and I noticed some kids had some beers that they were drinking on my street. I'm like, where'd you get the beer? They're like, the tiendas just snuck their door open, and basically the entire village of El Cerro, where I live, was in there trying to get food and stuff. So it was swamped, but I got lucky. I got in there. Anyway, I got a few things. What was I going to say? The creepy part, because Brent was saying like the fake news and stuff they're like, okay, at 1:00, they're going to start taking hostages. If you're out on the Melicon, they're going to take hostage tourists. At 2 p.m., a new rumor came out. They're going to start shooting people or whatever. And then 1:00 would come, 2:00. And I'm like, I am a single woman. I have 2 dogs. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. But I was reporting, like, nothing's happening. And people are writing, like, all these people are from, watching all this fake news or like scaring the shit out of everyone. I'm like, dudes, please stop. Like, I'm like, if you don't know what's going. So anyway, and then the creepiest rumor was that they're going to start tearing people out of their houses after dark.
Oh boy.
Like what? And that freaked me out because when I was in Los Cabos in 2014 when some really serious sea shit was going down, like really, really serious stuff. I don't know if you remember any of that. You probably did, right? But I heard gunshots when I was sleeping and stuff, and then like I came on with PTSD from that. So just saying. But of course, I locked myself in, and nothing happened. It was like silence. It was so peaceful. No one was outside. Nothing happened.
Right.
Had a good night's sleep.
I even heard the dogs were quiet.
I think they were. And they usually aren't, right?
No.
Yeah.
Did you went out then on Monday or Tuesday with the video? When did you?
So I went out the next day. Neil and I went together, which I didn't want to go solo. So he came and met. He's a big dude. And a lot of, and like you had asked about locals, like a lot of the Mexican locals in my neighborhood, and it's a lot of Mexicans, they were staying put.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't opening the stores. They were like, I could see them. Some had their doors locked still, and some of them had their doors open, but they weren't leaving. So anyway, I met up with Neil, and we went for a walkabout. And then that's when I started interviewing people, and they're like, everything's groovy. We already went down to this and that, and they felt safe. They're from Canada. Da, da, da. You can see my video, and it's got like tons of views because it was the day after. You can find it there. But it was like creepy. There's burnt cars. We did a loop. We saw the buses first, and where there were just 3 burnt buses right in front of City Hall. I guess it was sort of City Hall.
Yeah,
it was right in front. And then, we went on Insurgentes, was it? Or, so we did a loop, and the beach was pretty much closed. Restaurants were all closed down, but, there's quite a few people out and about, and they're just going on with their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then the following day, were you out there again?
Did it again. I did another video, and it was it was kind of back to normal. I went to Langostina's, one of the top restaurants right on Los Muertos Beach beside the pier.
Yeah.
There were several there's probably more tourists there than there are right now.
Uh-huh.
On the beach, and the tables were pretty full. Yeah, life, like people were jogging on the Melicon. Everything was, it was like
normal.
trippy.
It was like, it
just felt normal again. Yeah.
All right. Well, Well, that's exactly what I experienced when we've landed here. We've been here for several days, and it is totally normal. Yeah, unless you walk past an OXXO, which is where they're all boarded up now,
And they're being fixed
they're
up
working
already.
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're working on them already. And somebody mentioned that OXXO was paying their employees that got burned out an hourly rate wage until they get
Oh,
these
that's
things open
amazing.
again. And
Good.
that is amazing if they actually are doing that. I'll have to ask around and see if
that's true or not.
Yeah.
You find out. Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add?
What else would I want to add? I'm still sort of covering whatever the aftermathy kind of vibes because there's so many people that love Puerto Vallarta. They've been coming here for years and years and years, or they were supposed to come, or they've delayed their trips. And I'm showing videos of what it actually looks like. I just did a video. I did a tour 2 days ago. So if you want to see my angle on things, and then I'm doing lives most mornings, just quick 30-minute lives to just keep people informed with my take on things, and that's it.
Okay, so your tours. Tell us about your tours.
So I like to call them off the beaten path tours. They're kind of my style. If you watch my original name was Naked Jaguar Tour. So if you watch my show, get a feel for who I am, and most of the people I take on tours are fans of my channel. I go take people to Quimiques, to like day trips to really groovy places, but it's kind of different than a touristy kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I call them day drinking tours, but one person requested a happy hour tour. So I do all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
Mural tour, whatever you want, we'll customize it for you. But the most popular is like a day trip to like Gilligan's Island, and we bliss out in the jungle and go to the beach and stuff like that. So I'll give you my email now.
Yeah, we'll put it on the...
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell us.
It's newaudra, NEWAUDRA @yahoo.com. Just send me an email and we can arrange a tour, or I can tell you about how it works. And that's that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll have that. I'll have that in the show notes then, so that people can find you.
Thank you.
And then, of course, I'll have the embed for her YouTube videos that she was taking out of Ada and Stefan's house facing the ocean, and that's a great house. I like that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do the stairs, I mean, it is.
You get great
It's a
legs.
challenge.
You get great legs out of the deal.
Yes, you do. All right. Well, Audra, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. That was super fun.
Yeah, thanks for letting me introduce you to my audience. I've got a lot of people actually in my audience who've said, "Hey, you got to talk to Audra." And now it's finally happened.
Thank you. Thanks for doing what you do.
Well, thanks for sharing your experiences. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much, Audra. And thanks for taking those videos and documenting the day and the days that followed too. It's this is important stuff. Actually, I have an embed and links to Audra's content, both from Naked Jaguar Tours and her new channel, Real Life Puerto Vallarta, in the show notes. Now, our next guests are my friends Ray and Debbie from Canada, who have a very sweet casa in Colonia El Pitillo. El Pitillo is it's a blue-collar neighborhood. It's a very Mexican neighborhood. I know it's Mexico. Of course, it's a Mexican neighborhood, but no, it's a very Mexican neighborhood. I've known Ray and Deb for about 10 years now, and I wanted you to hear what happened far away from what was happening in downtown and in Zona Romantica, what happened up in the hood, what happened in PTL. I also wanted to bring them on to remind you that this wasn't the first time that there was cartel violence and things got burned up in Puerto Vallarta. You might not remember, but they do. So let's go right now to Colonia El Pitillo and talk with my buddies Deb and Ray. And let's hear about their first experience of being locked down in paradise. Deb and Ray, thanks for coming on the show again.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure, yes.
You guys, tell everybody where you're from.
We are from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but now live in the suburb of Puerto Vallarta, known as PTL, PT City.
PTCT. So, the reason I came to talk to you today is because I want to hear your experience on Sunday, a couple Sundays ago. Before you do that, though, you were here on a different time when something similar happened. I mean, not as big, but something similar happened. You told me that story a couple years ago. What, can you tell us what happened back in, when was it, 2015, right?
Yes, May 2015. So we arrived to the condo that we were renting up in Allende. The following day,
No, Allende, that's above downtown.
Yeah,
Puerto
December
Vallarta.
5.
Yeah, okay, Cinco de Diciembre, okay.
Yeah, way up there.
Okay.
So Ray and I decided that we needed to go to the Marina Walmart because we had no food, nothing. So we jumped on the bus and we're going down the 200 towards Walmart when the bus passed a bank that had a lot of smoke coming out of it. So, of course, we didn't know what was going on. So the bus decided it was going to take a detour, and I thought to myself, well, that's kind of weird.
Uh-huh.
But he ended up going back onto the 200, and we got off at the Walmart. Went into Walmart, and we had 2 grocery carts full of food and, of course, liquid gold beer. And after we'd paid for our stuff, Ray decided that he's going to stay in the store with our food because it was cool and it was a hot day. Of course, May is hot.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm going to go outside and get a cab because there's always cabs outside of Sam's Club and the Walmart. So I went outside and I looked around and there's no cabs, nothing, nada. And I waited about 5-10 minutes, still nothing. Noticed that there's really no people around either. So I went back into Walmart and I told Ray, there's no cabs. He goes, what? Yeah, there's got to be cabs. I said, no, there's not. There's not one cab anywhere.
Oh.
So he came out of the store and he said, I'm going to go get us a cab. I said, okay, well, good luck. Where are you going to get that from? He goes, I'm going to go onto the 200 and flag down a taxi.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So what'd you do, Ray?
Well, I went on the road there, and I can't remember the street name, but the traffic was kind of chaotic. It's kind of busy, and I just started running across the street, and I cut off a army truck with a bunch of army dudes in there with a machine gun. And I'm like, waved at him, like, sorry, and ran across the street, and I started looking for cabs, and I ran up to the 200, no cabs, and came running back, this time behind the truck instead of in front of it, and back toward the Walmart parking lot. And just as I was getting across the other street, this cab come down the street, and I managed to stop the guy and asked him if we could get a ride where we had to go up and the mountain there. And he said he'd take us. So he came back to Walmart, loaded us up with groceries and our beer, and we started heading up there. And I can't remember the conversation, if Debbie was talking to him or not about what was going on, but he seemed pretty panicked about the situation, I guess. Something, he must have knew something, but he got us up to the condo, and
he did talk to us. He told us that the banks and the gas stations are
did
getting
he say
bombed.
Something? Yeah, I don't remember that. So, okay.
And then he told us he will take us home to the condo, and he was going directly home.
Okay.
Then we were told from social media, through the local social media outlets, they were telling people they must stay in their houses for 3 days. Do not come out.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that part.
And that's exactly what we did. But of course, we had lots of food and lots of beer, so we were good to go.
Yeah, but it was really quiet. It was really interesting because we had a really good view of what was going on below. And you could see at night, well, the first night, there was a lot of police activity. They were like parading, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 trucks. And
Yeah.
they were just going up and down different streets and stopping.
And that house across from us, remember, it caught on fire.
Right.
Was on
There
fire.
was a fire there down below, just across from the condo. And then it was just pretty well quiet through the night. And then same day, it was like the next day, it was still that way. It was very quiet. Nobody was moving around.
Right. So you've experienced something like this before, which is interesting. So tell us what it was like in Pitial, because I've spoken with other people about what it was like in town. But maybe you can kind of let us know what it was like in the outskirts.
Sure. So I was sitting on our balcony having my coffee and just scrolling through social media. And all of a sudden I heard Ray yell from the rooftop, "Deb, come up here." So I came upstairs and looked around. What direction is to the west of us? There was a whole bunch of smoke, black smoke. And I said to Ray, like, what is going on here? And then to the on the left-hand side of where I was looking before, I saw smoke again, big black smoke. And behind us, towards the mountains, big plumes of black smoke. We were surrounded by black smoke everywhere, and we had no clue what was going on.
No,
Not
nothing.
a clue. We did not know.
But the
So-
smoke was unbelievable. Like, it was building here in the mountains here, like right behind us.
Mm-hmm.
It was really thick and really toxic. And I said to Deb, I said, we shouldn't probably be on the roof.
Yeah.
Because it was getting. All I kept saying to Deb, I said, hope it gets windy. It gets real windy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's getting really thick.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
true. I went back to the balcony and just thought, well, I don't know what's going on, so I'm not going to panic. So as I was sitting on the balcony, I looked up and I believe it was on Emiliano Zapata. There was lots of black smoke, and that's just like a block away from us. And then I heard, and Ray heard, 2 gunshots.
Yeah.
And that's when it got real for me. And then I got scared, like really scared, and started going through social media to find out that it was the cartel was involved in some kind of actions. I don't know what they were doing. I know why they were doing it, and I'm sure everybody else knows why. But I got super, like I said, I was scared. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I immediately got off the balcony, came upstairs and asked Ray if he heard those gunshots. He said yes. So I went back downstairs and I went inside the house, and Ray said to me, he goes, this is bad. He goes, but the worst part is we don't have any beer. And I went, oh yeah, that's right. We don't. So,
oh my gosh, yeah. No,
I mean,
it's essential.
yes. So I told him, I said, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. So my neighbor, he has the phone. I knew he had the phone number to our local little deposito guy named Jesus. And I texted him and asked him, is there any way you can text Jesus and ask him if we can get some beer, because his store was closed, not knowing that he actually was inside the store. He goes, and Leon said, see. And he texted him and he said, Jesus said, yes, you can get some beer. But I told Leon, I said, I'm not going to get it. I'm not leaving the house. I'm too scared. So he texted me back, told me, he goes, don't worry about it. I will go get it for you. So I said, okay, for your troubles, get yourself 3 Kawamas. So he's our Kawama neighbor.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So he went across the street and he got us our beer, brought it back, and we were so grateful. We sat up here and just listened and watched all the smoke. I went back downstairs for a little while to calm down. Ray was downstairs also because, like Ray said, the
It's too
the
thick
smell
and too
of
toxic.
everything burning was
Oh,
intoxicating. It was horrid. I will never forget that smell. It was so disgusting. But when I came back up to the rooftop, I looked around and I don't know if anybody was here. I think it was 2-3 years ago when the tromba hit here. The sky was the exact same color as when the tromba was coming in. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. So then I looked towards the south. Huge black plumes of smoke. Hey, Ray?
yeah.
Huge. And Ray said to me, he goes, "That's Costco. I'm sure that's Costco."
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And that's when, of course, later we found out how many cars were on fire, but I'm 100% convinced that all that smoke was coming from all those cars, and that smell was very, very bad.
Yeah. Real thick.
Yeah, there were a lot of cars that burned.
Big
in
time.
Yeah,
Jalisco.
I think over 30 cars burned in that parking lot.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, after that, we just drank our beer, ran out, of course, texted Leon. He ran and got us some more, and I got him some more Kawamas. So
Everybody's satisfied.
we made the best of of a bad situation. But the smoke continued overnight. We sat on our rooftop as soon as it was getting dark. Of course, we turned down our lights. We had absolutely no lights on in our house whatsoever, sat up here in the dark. And the only type of traffic you could hear was motorcycles, constant motorcycles going up and down Revolucion. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Very, very crazy. Very crazy. And then after the next day, they asked you all to stay inside, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what we heard. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't going outside. I was still too afraid. So
Yeah.
we waited it out. The next day, it just seemed calmer. There was no more smoke, nothing.
Well, Jesus opened up.
Oh, yeah. Jesus, the fellow who owns the Deposito, it's not only a Deposito, it is a little like corner convenience store. So he would have lineups of up to 20 people that were waiting to get some food or something from that Deposito. And he was a wonderful for what he did for this community. And that was it for that day. We just sat around, did nothing, didn't go outside, didn't open the doors, nothing.
Yeah.
And then the following day was even calmer. And that's when we decided that would have been on Wednesday. It was calm. And I said to Ray, I said, "We're going outside. We're going out for breakfast." So that's what we did. And I actually videoed it. We decided to go to our favorite little breakfast restaurant, La Flaca. And everything was almost normal again. It was except for the burned down Oxos, the burned out cars. That was kind of freaky to see because in Canada you never see anything like that. But it was reassuring and it felt good. It felt right, and I was no longer afraid.
Okay. All right. Well, wow. Thank you for sharing both of those experiences. I really wanted to hear both of them, but I especially wanted to rehear that first one from May of 2015, which was, just a kind of a strange time in Puerto Vallarta as well. Thanks for giving your perspective of what happened here in Piti City.
In Pity City, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show again. I really appreciate you guys.
You're welcome,
Thanks, Bear.
Barry.
Okay, thank you so much, Debbie and Ramon. We love you guys. Thanks for sharing. Hey, and God bless the man who sells the mighty Kawama. Hey, by the way, Kawama, you don't know, is an oversized beer. It's 1.5 liters to be precise, named after the bottlenose turtle. Just in case you've forgotten. So thank you, Deb and Ray. We love you guys. All right, next up, I have my friends Cara and Jose. And when you hear them talking about their friends on the other side of the hill, they're actually talking about Ada and Stefan. So when you hear them talk about that, that's who they're speaking about. Cara and Jose, they're listeners. We met them by accident at the store one day. I was talking with Debbie while we were shopping, and they recognized my voice and introduced themselves, and we became very fast friends in paradise. They're a lot of fun. Now, Cara and Jose have a view that's very similar to Audra's point of view, way up on the mountain in El Cerro, Colonia El Cerro, with a view overlooking the church, the Malecon, straight out over the bay. It's just a stunning view. Ada and Stefan have an amazing view where I did that interview. It spans clear across the Zona Romantica, Amapas, Alta Vista, the ocean. It's very stunning. But anyway, let's go up right now to Colonia El Cerro. Let's talk with our friends Cara and Jose, and let's hear their experience, what it was like on that fateful day, Black Sunday, in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Jose and Cara, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
up the hill to see us.
Oh, it's a schlep. So yeah. If you know them, get ready. Just wear some comfortable shoes.
We'll have a nice cold drink waiting for you.
Maybe.
I hope so. All right. Tell us where you're from. What brought you to Puerto Vallarta?
We're from Atlanta, Georgia. We had friends invite us and fell in love with Puerto Vallarta about 3.5, 4 years ago.
2022.
And suddenly we found ourselves building a house and experienced everything from on top of a hill.
And we just don't want to leave, ever.
Well, the view is amazing.
We climbed the hill because the view was here. We built the house because the view was here. We just hope the knees will last and get us up here for a while longer.
Yeah. Well, they have bionic knees now, right? Don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, you're both architects, right?
We are both architects. We have had our own practice of architecture in Atlanta since 2001. And this is the third house that we've built for ourselves. The first house that we've built in Mexico, for sure.
And desperately trying to retire.
Desperately trying to retire.
Well, we can give you a couple hints about that when you get a chance.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, you guys, during the event that happened,
the event.
I guess the 222 we could call it.
Yeah.
You're up on this hill. You've got an incredible vantage point.
Yes.
When did you? What time in the morning was this? When did you figure out that something was happening around you?
Typically on Saturdays and Sundays, we make a nice big breakfast, and Jose's in charge of that. So I take the dog down the hill and walk around the neighborhood, and that was probably around 8:30. And so I walked down, no incident, just a typical Sunday. It was quiet, but Sundays are quiet. Walked back up the hill, and as I was walking to this level where we are, which is the third floor, I looked out the window as I was coming up the stairs, and I saw smoke. And Jose had his back to me because he was making breakfast, and he turned around and we saw smoke. And I thought, oh, that's kind of unusual, because we do get smoke up here occasionally from people burning brush or burning wood, but this was a different type of smoke, and we're kind of familiar with the different types of smoke. And, it was kind of, it meant that there was some sort of vehicle fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then the smoke started to thicken, and then the smoke started to be in different places. And we started to realize that this was not just one event, that it was multiple events.
But what was
very interesting about Puerto Vallarta, just in the time that we've been here. Again, it hasn't been long. It's only really been 1 year since we completed our house, and we've begun to stay here for extended periods of time. But we've made so many friends here that we immediately started reaching out, because as we looked out, the smoke was coming from beyond the mountain where we could see. We were kind of as to the blind side where we couldn't see what was happening there. But we have friends on that side, and we called out to them, and they were in the process of doing a live cast because things were very immediate to them. And at that point, it wasn't just the smoke, but the smell, and all the things were very different. Sometimes you smell the wood fire. Sometimes it's, coffee roasting. There's so many things around here that go on, but this was very different. But because of the network of friends that we've established, all of a sudden, that just went on fire. Everybody was looking out their side of the mountain, their view. And that's when we first heard that there were vehicles on fire.
Yeah.
Which that can happen, but when it went from one stack of smoke to 3 stacks of smoke from that side, and then we started to look around, and there were more that we first realized, and it probably was no more than 9:30 at that point, that we thought something very different is happening. And we started, of course, you jump on your phone and you see what's happening.
Well, and again, going back to the network, we have several friends throughout this neighborhood, and we reached out to them, and they gave insight as to what they could see from their house. And all around us, everyone has a terrace, has a rooftop. All of our Mexican neighbors were on their rooftops, and they were looking. And there was solidarity in that.
Yeah.
For sure. And we did feel very comforted that we were up on this hill. It did feel like a lookout.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, somebody would have to, walk up some stairs to get up there.
We have a Mexican friend, and we were talking to him afterwards, a couple days later, and he said, "Yeah, nobody's coming up here. You're safe.
You're right. He's right.
Nobody's coming up here." So, but anyway, it was a very theatrical experience. It was, we had lots of people who were reaching out to us from all over the world.
Yeah.
And I said to them consistently, these are the 2 things I know. 1, I can't do anything about it. And 2, there are other people, Mexican nationals, that have far more invested in Puerto Vallarta who can do something and who will do something. So I don't feel that it's my duty to do something.
Right.
But my duty is to be present, to bear witness to this, and to bear witness to the resilience of the natives, to the Mexican nationals, because they have so much at risk. All these small businesses who are dependent upon the tourism. It's just so important to not give in to fear. It's unfortunate that this kind of violence exists. It's unfortunate people lost their vehicles, that businesses were burned, but we must continue.
Yeah.
And
well, as the day developed, and that's what became very apparent, it was very disconcerting. There was fear to be had. We didn't know what was happening. But the news we were getting from the people that were here, not the national news and those, because that became something different all on its own. But, people were not getting hurt. There were some people that were very unfortunate. Their vehicles got burned. In Mexico, your vehicle is your business, is your life.
Yeah.
Your shop is your business, is your life. The private businesses were not being torched. They did, a series of Oxos, the Kioscos, which is kind of their local little grocery store, 7-Eleven kind of things. But they seem to be very targeted for reasons we don't fully understand even to this day. Fortunately, some of the fail-safes did work. I mean, the gas stations that were set on fire did not explode. The fail-safes on those did work. Vehicles that were burned, there were some buildings that were burned because of that, but people were pulled out. People were pulled out of the stores before the fires were set. Again, back to the disconcerting, it was very quiet. You could hear explosions from the cars and the stores. A few maybe fire truck kind of sirens, very little police presence, any of that, which though initially that was scary, where were they? At the same time as things evolved,
Right.
it seemed like it made sense. It did not turn into a shootout in the middle of the street. It did not turn into this crazy urban warfare. The opportunities for violence were huge.
They were huge, and they didn't.
It really did not happen.
They didn't.
It really did not occur. So things, ramped up from 8:30 in the morning when we first realized until 12, 1 o'clock. There seemed to be a break for maybe lunch, which was, we know the workers in their time frames, and there was a break.
Siesta time.
And then there were some fires that started back up after that, but very few relative to what had been happening in the morning. Then things went quiet again. And then is when the police and some of the military started coming into town and, putting some of the fires out and doing that. So again, it was just very interesting to see how things happened.
It seemed like an orchestrated protest. And that's why I felt that it was theatrical, because it was planned. I feel that somebody somewhere said to somebody, no one is to be hurt, because no one was hurt.
We know a lot of local folks, and they were very concerned. This was not something that they've seen happen.
No, they have not seen this happen.
No.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
No.
And but everything came back very quickly.
Yeah. So how about your neighbors? You've had a chance to talk with them after this passed. So how do they feel?
Even today, we went by a fellow that we've purchased some art from, and he lives outside towards the marina. And everybody had a little different experience of this as to what was going on. Sometimes, what we saw here was not at all what they were experiencing there. They were all frightened too. Nobody knew what the limit of this was.
Yeah.
At the same time, this was on Sunday that it occurred. On the 22nd was a Sunday. On Monday, he was coming back, to see how his shop was, and it was fine. And by Tuesday, he was back and open and, trying to get things going again.
Right.
Well, and I think there's a kind of a tourist lag happening right now, just because there's a lot of people that, canceled things 2 weeks out. I think it'll be very interesting to see where tourism is, back to in a 3-week period when this is gone. Those people didn't cancel. Things got better, and and I hope so. This is the city is very reliant on this time frame, this time of the year. One of the things that we love, that we're up on the mountain, where it's not where all the Americans, Canadians, Europeans, that's not where the condos are. It's not where the big heavy density of tourism is. We live around families that have been here 3-4 generations, and we have become part of their family. So absolutely. They were checking on us. We were checking on them. A lot of the observations came from them. Again, the discussions about this, and, to have them, this is not their everyday. They're not happy about this. They know it does not project well for them.
one of the things that we really love about this neighborhood is that usually the kids are running up and down the path. They're just, as soon as school's out, they're running, they're hanging out underneath this great shade tree that we have in front of our house. And it was so odd because on Sundays, they usually have like a big family party, and they're making food and you can smell the food and there was none of that on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody was in casa.
Yeah.
And, but hanging out on their terrace and looking out at the skyline because we can see all the way to the marina. We can see all Cinco de Diciembre. We can, we see Centro. And then definitely we can see the smoke coming from Emilio Zapata. So it was, everyone was just kind of in
Mexico has
awe.
always had a soundtrack to it, whether it's dogs, it's construction, it's, music from your neighbors. There's always a soundtrack going on in the background of what Mexico is. It's the neighbors laughing next door, it's the kids playing. And for a day, it really stopped. It really stopped. Even the dogs, the birds, it was just super quiet. That night, it's never been so quiet, almost to the point of that was the most concerning thing, waiting to see what was going to happen overnight. And the next day was a beautiful day. The sky was blue. The water was beautiful. Slowly, the dogs and the soundtrack
even that
began
day
again.
was beautiful. It was a beautiful, clear day. And at a certain point, I wasn't feeling very well prior to this event happening. And at a certain point, I was like, I'm just going to go to bed.
Yeah.
Because whatever this is going to go on without me. And I don't really need to, and I went to bed and we didn't hear anything through the night. And when we woke up the next morning, it was gone.
Do you have any angst at all about maybe, what might be coming in the future?
Well, I'm very disappointed in the media.
Okay.
I'm very disappointed in the media. And as my silent protest, continues in a way, but I just see these things and I'm just like, this is not journalism. This is sensationalism. And, it's not exciting to ruin an economy.
Everybody was so ready to support us. Should we have needed anything on Sunday? No. If anything, it's all the more reason to come. And we've had many more friends that we've spoken with, that are planning on coming in a couple of weeks and 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And it's like, absolutely not. You need to come. And these are the restaurants you need to go to. They were very quick to clean up the messes that were made. They have, a point of pride here in the workmanship that they got out there and got it done. Sunday was a mess. Monday, they were out there getting it cleaned up and moving forward. And, Kara and I have always been kind of about moving forward. So maybe it's not everybody that, is ready to do it. But for us, there's going back and, being afraid was not what we wanted to do and participate with.
No, we're invested.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, maybe one day we'll talk about how fun it was to build this place. We'll do that in maybe another episode.
We're still recovering from that. Again, I say we had a great team that we worked with. Any challenges we had were our own doing because we chose to build up a hill. We had great people working on this. So those were the same people in some ways that showed up after 2022.
Right? All right. Well, thanks for sharing your experience with us. And, my listeners want to know what happened and, what kind of feeling you got. And if you don't mind, I'll take a picture of your view. And so people get an idea of what kind of view you had, right? And I want to thank you both for coming on the show and let me introduce you to my listeners. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always fun to see you and Deb.
Thanks, Barry.
All right. Thank you very much, Cara and Jose. Great perspective on that day and the days following El Día Feo, the ugly day. I have a picture of them in the show notes, as well as a photo of their spectacular view over the city and over the bay. It's in the show notes. All right, my final interview is with our upstairs neighbor here in Puerto Vallarta. His name is Randy Winrow. My wife Debbie and I have been friends with Randy and his husband Norman for a couple of years now. It was kind of funny one morning a couple of months ago. We had a big surprise. I was reading a Facebook post from Randy, and he posted a picture from the roof of the apartment that Debbie and I have been living in for over a year. He says, "Hey, check out our new view." So it seems he and Norman had leased a studio up on the roof of the building, and wow, here our friends are now our neighbors. Small world, isn't it? Well, only in Puerto Vallarta, right? Anyway, so when Debbie's mom passed away, we had to head up to Los Angeles. We let Randy and Norman know that we were going to be out of town, and we asked them to keep an eye on our place, which was really nice. It's really nice to have somebody that in your building. So that first video that I received and I described to you at the beginning of the show, it happened right down the hill, a short 5-minute walk from where we live, and that was Randy's vantage point as he describes all that smoke rising up over the Soho condo complex. What he was witnessing was the beginning of the damage done in Zona Romantica. So let's hear from Randy, and let's see how he was able to calm the fears of some vacationers who happened to be caught in the confusion of the moment and brighten up that ugly day for some people. Let's go to my balcony over in Colonia Alta Vista, and let's talk with Randy Winrow in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
All right.
Randy, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What was your path that led you here to Puerto Vallarta?
Well, I'm originally from Oklahoma, but I met my partner from Canada, moved to Canada, and he's been coming here for a long time. And then when I moved to Canada, I started coming here. So I've been coming here for the last 12, 13 years.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you keep on coming back. It's not just because of your partner. You like this place here, don't you?
I love Puerto Vallarta, but, we just don't do the winter time in Canada.
Yeah.
6 months out of the year, we're out.
You're from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So we're neighbors, and that's why I have you here, Randy. We were not here on the ugly day, the day that happened on that Sunday. So I want you to kind of run us through like what it was like, kind of like how you felt about that, and like when did you finally figure out what was going on?
Okay, well, that day I had gotten up around 8:30, and I'm making my cup of coffee, going to sit on my patio, and I noticed something burning in the distance. I'm like, oh, wow, something's burning. And then about 10 minutes later, I see something burning closer to where we are on the backside of the small tunnel over in that neighborhood, which is Romance,
Romance.
And this smoke was really, really dark smoke. So it's like somebody was burning a stack full of tires or something.
Right, yeah.
And I said, okay, what's going on? And the fire or smoke in the far off distance, I can see other fires starting coming towards our direction. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I'm sitting there on my phone, looking at Facebook and all that stuff, see if I can get some information. And all of a sudden, something popped up on the Facebook that U.S. Ops and the Mexican Navy had did an exercise together to take out a drug lord. Come to find out, they killed him. So I'm like, okay, so there's something actually really, really going on now. So, and then all of a sudden we start seeing the fires start being set even closer to where we are. I mean, right here on the 200 where the Soho is, right in front of our place where we're staying, there was a tanker truck at the gas station right across the street, and they had supposedly was it was like an insurrection of them, killing the drug lord that his minions, as I would call them, was going around setting things on fire.
Yeah.
And they were carjacking people out of their cars to block the streets. So, enforcement's can come into the romantic zone. They were blocking the roads with these cars and buses and taxi cabs and all that, and they were setting them afire. Well, they set that tanker on fire. Thank God it didn't blow up.
Yeah.
And it's right next to this Soho building. And we can just see the smoke pillaring right up over the building. And supposedly they had evacuated the building. So this one rental company here in Puerto Vallarta went to the Soho to get their clients out. And they rescued them out the back. And they were coming up the hill where we stayed right here on the corner of the street. And as I'm standing there watching, I don't know if these people knew what was actually going on. All they knew was they were seeing the smoke in the front part of the building and everything. So they're standing out on the corner in the middle of all this chaos that's going on. And me and my partner, Norman, decided, you know what, we can't leave him out on the street like that, especially in the middle of a war zone if it really starts to break out that way. So we open up our door of 71 people to our condo. Now, remind you, this started at 8:30 in the morning. So these people were probably just getting up, taking showers, getting ready to go out, and all this stuff breaks out. And they have no food, no water, no bathroom at being evacuated from the building.
Yeah.
So we kindly opened up our doors and let them come in to use the bathroom. There was a couple that had a 2-year-old baby, which was pretty sad. And then there was an elderly couple where the guy was with the cane and can barely walk. We helped them all up. We got some food for the baby because he was starting to cry and being cranky. And just opened up our condo. We just told him, hey, come in. Our kitchen's yours. If you need something to eat, there's food in the refrigerator, in the cupboards, in the freezer, whatever you need, just use it and everything. And so, they thanked us for opening up the house, our place to them. And, there were people down by the pool of our building. And I told them, I said, if you want to use the pool, you're more than welcome to use the pool. Because I got a feeling you're going to be here for quite a while. So, and then, I could tell a few were kind of really, really uptight, kind of on the edge because, they probably never experienced anything like this before.
Of course, yeah.
And I got to thinking in the back of my head to kind of ease the tension and all that. I was like, folks, I said, you have nothing to worry about. This does not pertain to us. We have nothing to do with this. So don't feel scared. Just sit back and let it take its course and be safe, which you are. You're safe at our place.
Yeah.
But, so I broke out, a couple bottles of wine for the people who, to take that edge off. Norman cut up some cheese and crackers and all that stuff. And, it almost felt like it was one big family having a family reunion, but we had the ugly day going on at the same time.
Yeah.
But it was weird. I mean, I've never been in this type of a situation, but to know that what it was all about, I really didn't feel threatened.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
I felt like, this doesn't pertain to me. So they're not coming after people. They're just retaliating for what happened.
Right.
They went after businesses. They didn't kill nobody. They knew exactly what they were doing, but they did it in a fascist way, you know what I mean?
Right.
Trying to disrupt the everyday life of tourists who live down here, to make things harder for them to get the things that they need. Yeah. But I myself, like I said, I was not worried at all. And this happened to happen on Norman's birthday because we was planning on going out to celebrate his birthday.
Happy birthday, Norman.
Yeah. he was kind of bummed out on that day, but the next day, after they still told us they had us on lockdown.
Right. Yeah, there was a red, like a code red or
code red.
Right.
I still can't believe how many people still went out.
When did you go? Did you go out?
I went out the next day too because I need to go get supplies. And, we didn't know if anything was going to be open.
Right.
Especially being that, lockdown and everything. So I said, you know what? I'll go down and see what I can find. Well, I walked around and I start seeing people line up at these certain spots. Well, certain stores decided they was going to open because people needed supplies.
Yeah,
that
people
they
needed to eat
lockdown.
or drink. Yeah, it was not good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I went around and start seeing longer lines in all these places, and I was saying to myself, I'm not going to stand in line this long because if this stuff breaks out again, I want I'm gone. I just have to go back home without no supplies. So I walked over to my former neighborhood, and my local store there had just opened up. So I was like the fifth in line at that store. And by the time I got into the store, half the stuff was already gone.
All right.
So I just grabbed what I could grab and paid for it and trucked back home. But the locals knew that they needed to open up their stores. They did not let this hold them down. They actually opened up the stores to help people out, make sure they had supplies and food and everything else. We had no more mishaps after that day. We saw military start coming through the streets, checking everything, making their presence known and stuff like that. But I never felt threatened. I was not scared. Because like I said, they're not after me.
Right. Yeah, you figured that out pretty quick.
I figured that out real quick. Because, if they really wanted to make this ugly, they could have made it ugly. They could have made it real. This could have been a battlefield. But they did not go after not one person. Like I said, they didn't kill nobody. They just burnt businesses and cars. That's all they did. They even told people who they were hijacking their car, get out of the car. And the people got out of the car. Before they burnt stores, they went in the stores and told all the customers in the stores to get out. They made sure there was nobody in these stores or businesses before they set them afire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that tells you right there, they weren't out to get people. They were just trying to disrupt the lives of everybody.
They did a good job of that.
They really did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They even kind of, not just that, kind of hurt the tourism here now because, planes were taking off like crazy to get people out of here. People cut their vacations short because of that.
Yeah.
If they would have just waited 2 more days, they would have known. They would have realized it wasn't about tourism. It was just about disrupting the system.
Mm.
So I'm kind of sad that the tourism's going to take a hit here because of all this, but don't believe and don't believe what you see on Facebook because, like they said, they made it like this whole city was on fire on Facebook.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's not true. That's not true at all. I mean, I'm like, that's AI.
Well, a lot of that was happening for sure.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But it's just sad. But then again, everything's back to normal right now, like nothing ever happened.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it.
I do. Yeah, I do too. It is just like it was. Before I left, I came back and it was just the same, except for, well, there's a lot of OXXOs that were kind of burned out.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
One of the things that kind of touched me about this whole thing, a few of the people that were at our place that, invited into our home, they came back to our place and out of courtesy of their heart, brought us, me and Norman, bottles of wine, some food.
Nice.
So, it was touching that they did that. Not like I told him, I said, you really didn't have to do that. No. You open up your house and let us use your bathroom and eat your food. This is the least we can do for you and Norman. So that right there shows you what Puerto Vallarta is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also some, I would say some Southern comfort and some spirit and some, what your mom taught you, right?
Well, that's what my mom always told me. She said, do unto others that they would do unto you. And I'm like, well, you know what? She's right. My mama raised me. I'm a mama's boy. I was always on my mama's hip. I love my mama. Bless her heart. But, that's what she taught me,
Randy, thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for talking to us. Thanks for telling us your experience. I think it's very valuable. It's going to be valuable for people who are trying to make their decision whether or not they're going to come back to Puerto Vallarta. I always tell them, just come back.
Yeah, just come back.
Yeah.
You would never, the only thing you're going to know that something happened here are the buildings that still got the chart on them that they haven't started to clean up yet. But once all that's cleaned up and everything's open, you would never know that something happened down here like that.
That's true.
So,
Randy, thanks again for coming on the show.
Barry, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Randy. Randy, you were so kind. 70 people. Did you really? You let 70 people into our apartment complex? Wait till I tell the... Oh, never mind. You are amazing. Get 70 people out of harm's way. Who does that, right? Well, you do, Randy. Well done. Randy shared a couple of pics with me. I'll be adding those to the show notes in the day or so. Check them out for sure over at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. And so what can we conclude from these diverse points of view about whether or not one should avoid visiting Puerto Vallarta? Well, it sounds to me like we have a resounding yes. It says, come. Don't be afraid to visit Mexico, especially Puerto Vallarta. It's, the kind people of Vallarta are depending on us to remember. Yeah, things have changed, but the patas aladas, the kind people of Puerto Vallarta, they're the same. They're the kindest, most amiable people in all of Mexico, bar none. Don't stay away. I plan to post the next episode of the podcast really soon so we can cover the latest upcoming events that were overshadowed by El Dia Feo. So stay tuned. If you're in town this week, make sure that you check out that Raicilla Festival over on Isla Quale today, Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th, Sunday the 15th, and I have all that information in the show notes. Okay, well, that should do it for this week. Sorry it was a long one, but hey, next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. Until then, remember this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. Once again, if you like this podcast, take the time, subscribe and follow and share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta. Or, hey, give me a good review wherever or however you happen to be listening. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, what's wrong with you? You really need to go check it out. Have a look there. I have links to the places we talk about, interesting pictures and more right there, right in my blog posts, in the show notes for each episode of the show. So make sure you check them out for sure if you haven't already, all right? All right. Thanks so much to all my friends who share their experiences of Black Sunday in Puerto Vallarta. Ada and Stefan from Living Simply in Mexico. Brent Lane from Puerto Vallarta Real News and CPS News with Jesse and Brent. And Audra Ricketts from Real Life Puerto Vallarta. Subscribe to their channels. Follow them as they bring you Puerto Vallarta in living color, in video. They do a great job. You really need to follow them. Hey, take a tour with Audra. She's a real dude. She really is. I have all their contact information in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Thanks to my other friends who don't have YouTube channels and stations, but came on to share their experiences with us. Thank you, Jose and Cara, Debbie and Ray, and our neighbor, Randy Winrow. Thank you so much for being part of this documentation of what really was a very hard day for the town of Puerto Vallarta and the people of Puerto Vallarta. May it never happen again. Ever, never, ever again. Hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for you all to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino, perno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río, cuando todo está en calma, pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta.